So after watching and listening the last several days to Now and Then, watching the video, watching the making of documentary, I've decided, of course, I'm going to give my thoughts on this. And in short, I'm still moved by it. I'm still speechless over the whole thing. Was I objective over it? I don't think I was. And I don't think I want to be objective over it because with the Beatles, it can be a personal thing. But for me, first off, watching the 12-minute video, I loved seeing all of this stuff that was done in 95. There's obviously still a lot more stuff there in the can that didn't come out during the anthology. So I'm really hoping that we get a re-release of the anthology soon, but that's neither here nor there on this. It was very interesting just seeing Paul, George, and Ringo work together and talk about the difficulties on the track and trying to get John's voice clear enough because the piano would overtake it. And what sort of hit home for me is when Ringo said what it brought to us was that John is truly gone, or something to that effect, he said. But that sort of hit me in the gut when I heard that. And then Paul talks about when George left. But Paul was passionate about getting this song out. Now, is it the best Beatles song in the world? Maybe not. But I think it's a bit unfair to be comparing this to Strawberry Fields and Yesterday and all of the great songs that they did in the past. I think it's unfair, which is one of the things that John talked about in the 1980 Playboy interview with David Sheff. If we got back together again, it would not be the Beatles. Everybody would want it to be what it was before, and it can't be. And that's sort of the thing here as far as the negative stuff. And I'll just talk about that right now briefly. The writer in the Washington Post and a couple other people who were like, it's not a good song, it's not a good song, this doesn't, but they should have left well enough alone. And on one thing I read, John would not have wanted this. John was interested in stripping down towards the end of his life. I read something to that effect. And I'm like, really? Did you hear Double Fantasy? Did you hear the horns and the choirs on Double Fantasy? Stripping down. Maybe when he began his solo career, but even Walls and Bridges has kind of a slick sound to it. But there was a reason I feel Paul was so passionate about this. So when I heard the song, I didn't have the initial reaction that I did to Free as a Bird and Real Love. But I had a good reaction, but I had the reaction that I wanted to play it again. And the more I played it, the more poignant the lyrics became. And this is where I'm going to sort of talk personally about it. If any of you guys are fans of TGR music, he said something in his observation of the song that unlike Real Love and Free as a Bird, when you heard those in 95, there was a sense of joy to it. This sounds very sad. And it is a sad song. That's what got me about it. To me personally, the lyrics have less to do with the Beatles and resonated in me with my own personal life and things that I've been wrestling with since 2019 after my father left. And the lyrics, based on dreams that I'm having of people that I knew, grandparents, aunts and uncles, I'm having variations of dreams like that. The lyrics totally hit me at that level. And it was on the seventh listen when I was singing along to it that I got to the chorus, and I broke down and cried. But the lyrics cut through to me on a personal level than they did on It's the Beatles and It's Moving. Now, getting to the Beatles and it being moving, it is very moving. Because this truly does feel like an end. Yes, I know there's other things in the can. Yes, I know they could go and release unreleased stuff, and I'm sure they're going to do that. There's more box sets on the way. But as far as anything that would be quote-unquote new, this is a closing of the door. In fact, if they were able to complete this during the anthology, I feel it wouldn't have opened Anthology 3. I see this as a closer to Anthology 3 if they were able to finish this at the time. I don't see it as an album opener. This is an end, a complete going full circle. And I had sort of an ominous feeling towards it. And I brought this up to a friend of mine that it reminded me of back in 2006 when I saw A Prairie Home Companion. Robert Altman is one of my favorite filmmakers. He always has been. Now, I never saw Shortcuts in the theater. I never saw The Player in the theater. I didn't see Gosford Park. And being a fan of Altman, I said, I'm going to go see this Altman film in the theater. And when I saw A Prairie Home Companion, I sat there and a weird feeling based on the themes of the movie started coming over me. When the movie was done, my friend asked me, well, how'd you like it? And I said, this is his last movie. And he's like, wow, did he say this is his last? I said, no, he never said that this is his last. I'm watching this. I watched it, and it felt like this is his last. This is a closing of the door. He has nothing else to say. This is the last thing he has to say. And he said it all. Either he's going to retire or he knows it's the end of his life. And within a year, Robert Altman passed away. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen here, but we are getting to the age where us Gen Xers and people who grew up being fans of classic rock and psychedelic rock of the 60s and pop songs of the 60s and the 70s, our heroes are now in their 80s. I mean, who would have thought Robbie Robertson? I thought Robbie Robertson was in great health. So now and then, I don't know what's going to happen to Paul or Ringo. Paul's on his tour. This could be his last tour. They seem to be in pretty good shape. We don't know. But this seemed like this is an end. This is truly an end. And as far as the Beatles go, that's where the emotional level hit me as far as the Beatles. So it hit me on two levels, a personal level and a Beatles level, if that makes any sense. The video by Peter Jackson, that was the icing on the cake. That was the icing on the cake. That was the bonus. That was the grand finale for me. I know some people complain, why is the show John clowning around in the video? Because John would always clown around. Even when he was at his most serious, he would clown around still. And I actually thought the video is showing now and then. Now and then. Here is Ringo playing drums to the Beatles in with the Beatles in the Hello Goodbye video. So I really thought it was a poignant tribute and not really nostalgic the way Free as a Bird was. That was totally nostalgic and really didn't have anything to do with the song. This does have to do with the song and what the themes of the song are about pertaining to the Beatles. I mean, Peter Jackson, I think he should do a film based on the Lord of the Rings movies. Don't you think he'd be a great person to do that? But I will say he's come along from a long way from bad taste to Meet the Feebles. But now and then, for a Beatlemaniac, for a Beatle fan, it's a gift to us. Now, we could be objective as we want to And I'll let my objectivity come later on, you know. But for me, it was more of a personal journey with that song, both, uh, I mean, spiritually, emotionally, and on a Beatles level. We need to take this as the gift that it is. It is a gift. And you have to applaud Paul for being so passionate about wanting to get this out. Yes, they didn't use John's original middle eight. I heard it, and I do think the demo on the middle eight is a bit plodding along. I mean, if I'm going to be objective here, there's my objectivity. You know, I think they were smart to edit that out, and like Barry Gordy once said, "Don't bore us, get us to the chorus." But the chorus, I've been singing that song. That song's been the only thing that's been in my head the last few days. So give me some of your thoughts on it. And I know people have thoughts, both pros and cons, but my thoughts, it's a pro, it's a personal thing with this song, and I am happy that we have it, and I'm gonna take it, and I take it as the gift that it is, a gift from four guys who I wasn't there during the initial onslaught of Beatlemania, but these guys were still there for me when I was down and out, when I was depressed, when I was happy. They were my go-to. They are my go-to to make me happy and think positive. This one made me think about, you know, life in general, and that everything is okay. It's okay to be sad once in a while. Talk to you soon.